In this video, I'm going to show you how to rekey a Defiant electronic deadbolt. It's going to be a similar process with other Defiant models. We'll pull it out of the package. The simplest would be to buy the keys with the same key code. So if this was already manufactured, it'd be the same for as many as you're buying. But we weren't able to do that, so we're going to have to rekey them to all fit one master key. Pop out the lock. There's no screws holding that in. Next, we need to push down this little pin right there. So I'm using the key to push it down, and then that allows us to spin this nut off. It's definitely a small pin. It can be a little tricky to hold down sometimes. And here's that pin that we are retracting. It's better to remove it now because it's easier to remove it now because it'll fall out later. Take the keys that came with the lock, put them in, turn it a little bit, about 1/8, and then we'll be able to just pull this out. Now before you pull it out, you want to have something to keep the pins in there because there's pins that are spring-loaded pushing up on this. So this is a 1/2" shaft, and I have a 1/2" steel shaft right here. We're going to push it from behind, make sure you're following that. And that comes right out. And now we have our barrel. If you don't have this shaft in here, all those pins and springs are gonna come out and you're gonna have to put them all back in, and that takes a lot of time. I've done it before. You can see when the key that it's made for is inserted, all of these are flat. But if we were to put in the key that we wanna key it to, of course they're not flat, it even pops them out. We're gonna need to take these out anyway, and what we're gonna do is make sure they're all level whenever we put in this. And we actually have 2 right here that are already perfectly flat. That's really good. First, you can try rearranging the pins that you already have, but it seems that we might only get 2 pins to work here. Maybe, no, yeah, it's too low. Looks like we got another pin to fit right here. That one looks good too. Okay, that one's a little bit too low. It's best if you save these little brass pieces here, or you can buy a kit with all kinds of different sizes of them. But in a pinch, if you don't have any, use like a screw that has the same diameter that slides in there. Of course, brass would be best if you had a brass rod, but I've used these before and we're gonna use this here to get this working. First, I'm gonna start by flattening out the one end. And then I'll deburr the edges, kind of round it over. First, insert the screw, and then with my fingers, I'm gonna mark out right where it touches. And using a pair of vice grips, I'm gonna grab up to that mark. And I'll cut off the rest with the hacksaw. Break off the head of the screw, and then we can file this flat. Now that we've got all of these in position, some of them are a little bit higher than others, and we need this to be real level right here. So I'm just gonna use a file, drag it over, and make sure everything is the same. Now let's reinsert this. Just like that. And line it up, pull out our key. Put in the spring and the pin. And now we'll put that pin in. You'll need to push the pin down again in order to thread this on. Now with our master key, this works great, very smooth. And then our old keys, which is what came with the lock, don't work, doesn't move at all. And that's exactly what we want to see. So this has been rekeyed to fit this. We did this with relatively simple tools. I mean, most of these are probably ones that you already have in your house. The only one that might be a little bit hard to find is this 1/2" rod. It doesn't have to be solid, it just needs to be something that'll keep the pins from coming through. This works really well, and now we have everything on the same key.